Have you been asked or told or maybe been given some advice that actually returning to diet, a low protein PKU diet, might possibly be good for you? Maybe. If that's you and that's something that you are considering or even weighing up the decision whether or not to progress and do it, then I hope this video might help just a little bit. Okay, so the first thing to say would be that it's a hard process to even consider going back on diet. The diet is tough. It's not an easy process. It's not an easy thing to even stick to the diet. Normal foods taste much better than PKU foods, and that's always been the case, even historically. And it's recognizing that, the struggle's there. I'm not going to sit here and say, just return to diet. You should do. You're much better off for it. Go and do it. Why are you not doing it? That would be unfair. I have been fortunate enough to be on diet my whole life, though there was a part of my life where I was way too lenient than what I should have been. But there are people out there that historically were told they could come off diet by their PKU clinic team. And that back then was a different time. Technology and knowledge and research that was completely different. They maybe assumed that most of the brain development that took place had taken place already, and the brain had been developed and since a young age, because that's where most of the growth takes place. We now know that that's not true, that actually Phe levels in our body have an impact regardless of our age. And so the advice now is a low protein diet, and we would hope that as more medication comes through, adhering to that low protein diet because of maybe now higher tolerances would be easier than what it has been. Because for a lot of people, it's very, very difficult because their tolerance levels are so low. PKU foods are not great. Other foods are lovely. There's so much choice in the world, and there's not a lot of choice in our world. But I'm going to give you an example, a story of one individual who I know who did make that change. They had been told they could come off diet, and in later age they've now returned to diet and doing incredibly well. He's going to tell you about his experiences, and hopefully some of those will help. We now know that high Phe levels, and we've known for some time, have a significant impact in our body. And it has an impact in the way that how we see the world, how we feel the world, and how we interact with the world. So a low protein diet is a much better approach for us. And if we're thinking of long-term health and life, that's going to have the best possible outcomes for us. Now, Stuart is going to give you some tips on what worked for him.
Before we let you go, could you give us and give our audience maybe a top 3 tips for returning to diet?
First and foremost, reach out to a dietitian if you're not already in communication with them. You can't get anywhere without them. They are literally the backbone of it. They'll be there to support you no matter what, and they'll give you the best advice possible. Secondly, I think, is reach out to the community. As I've said, my DMs are open. Quite happy to speak to anybody about it, but I know there's a lot of people out there as well that are willing to do the same from past experience. Like I've said, I don't think I'd be sat on this sofa now if it wasn't for certain people in this community. And I think thirdly, enjoy it, which is crazy for me to be sat here saying when I look back at my childhood and think, how, not that my childhood was bad in any way, my mum and dad were brilliant. And, luckily my PKU was looked after right up until sort of when I sort of took over, and even after that. But I think, be confident about it, and just let it be you, because that's what it is, really. And just coming back onto diet is sort of scary at times, but it's definitely worth it. I can definitely say that.
So stay in touch, reach out, and enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
So for some people then, a slow approach of changing things over time, maybe one thing at a time, cutting out one type of food, introducing a new one, over a long period of time can develop stronger habits, and it's not so overwhelming because you're not having to do it all at once. But clearly, for Stuart, that didn't work for him. What worked for him was just going all in, making a significant change all at once. And I get that as well. There's no right or wrong approach here. It's just figuring out what works for you and trying to stick at it as much as physically possible. I would say that one of the biggest things that I can see is that if we don't have a protein supplement that we like, that we get on with, it's going to be very, very difficult to stick to the diet. Protein supplement seems to be key. Any human on earth, regardless if they're PKU or not, if they have low protein consumption levels over day after day after day, they just feel more hungry. The more hungry we are, the more likely we are going to eat foods that we probably shouldn't. So if we get in our protein supplement, which is giving us all the minerals, vitamins, but more importantly, the protein that we need to help us grow, develop, grow muscle, engage and interact with the day and just function as a normal human being, then we're going to have problems. If we're getting the right quantities, then from a nutritional point of view are getting what we want, so therefore we can make better educated decisions and better decisions in the moment, not so based on hunger or even maybe feeling of actually starving. I know if I look back at my own life historically and think back to a time when I probably wasn't taking the supplements regularly and not well enough, mainly because they were absolutely disgusting back then, I was more likely to eat more quantities and bigger quantities of the foods maybe that I probably shouldn't have. Because I'm just hungry. Protein supplement, super, super key. If you have returned to diet and you're watching this video, could you comment in the comments how you found it, what you did that was successful, and maybe some of the challenges you have, because there'll be other people that will watch this that will be able to learn from your experience. And what I've kind of gathered from all of this, from interacting with lots of different people with PKU across the world, is that there's no right or wrong approach. You know, we've all got different journeys here, we've all got different experiences. We're just trying to do our best, and we're trying to do our best on a journey that's significantly difficult, that a large amount of the population don't understand. So the first thing is, we're not going to be hard on each other here. We're going to recognize the struggle, but we're going to keep moving forward and try to do our best. So I think sharing knowledge is really, really important, and that's why I wanted to kind of create this video. And it's also why I wanted to bring in Stuart to kind of give you his experience as well. I wish you the best of luck. I'll say, just try your best, you know, make sure you give it your all. Try and achieve the possible outcome here of returning to diet, because it does have a significant impact from a positive aspect into every aspect of your life, from concentration levels, reduced anxiety, feeling just generally good about yourself and how you interact with the world, no longer feeling tired, brain fog at the level that you had it, lack of concentration level, grumpiness at the same level. We still might be grumpy and we still might be tired, but it will be reduced. We won't get it at the same level. And if you want to have a good life, you know, then making that change is, I think, massively important. Difficult, yes, you know, I get that, but so important for our well-being.